What is happening, J Gamer Dude here, and for someone like me who's not a PC player, sometimes I do like to look at PC specs to see what the minimum is, what the recommended is my PC, that I use for just general admin and stuff, good enough to run a few games here and there. So I do like to, sort of try to keep on that, not on top of it with the best gear in the world, but just whatever's good enough. And lately there have been a lot of games that have only had really, really high requirements. Stuff like Forspoken and Redfall, which are bad games that don't run particularly well, that have required very, very high, almost comedically high, requirements for their games. And joining that list, maybe this game might not necessarily be bad, maybe it is bad, who knows, but joining the list of other games that have really high PC requirements is Lord of the Rings Gollum, a stealth game based on the Lord of the Rings properties, where you play as Gollum. And the game doesn't look great, it doesn't look particularly fun, and I think you spend most of your time just sort of, stealthing it out. And so I had a look at the specs, and I thought to myself, hold on, there's something seems to be very, very off around here. So it says here, 64-bit processor, operating system, Windows 10 and 11, that's all well and good. Then we hit the processor, and I'm like, an Intel i7 4770 AMD Ryzen 5 1600. I'm like, okay, fair enough, 16 gigs of RAM, and I thought, hold on, that's incredibly high for a game. Gollum doesn't look that great that it needs that much RAM to run. You don't imagine there's a lot going on in the game. And then I look at the graphics and it's like, okay, GTX 1080 2060. Huh. And these are minimum specs, huh? 45 gigs of space. Actually, you know what? Storage is another thing. Why are games so goddamn massive lately? But then I look down at the recommended, and 32 gigs of RAM is recommended. RTX 3080 with DLSS quality. I suppose it's not like really, really high minimal specs. It's just a really, really high recommended specs. Like, what the heck gives? Processor's good, but it's the RAM and the graphics that are just so incredibly high. Like, does it need to be this high? It doesn't seem like it needs to. The game doesn't look that great. It doesn't look that fun, and hell, it doesn't even look that good. I don't think we have any reason to believe that the game genuinely requires all of these. And at high presets, yeah, 1440p, ray tracing on, and all the rest of it. So, yeah. Like, I again need a little bit more sort of like background because I'm not much of a PC player, but is it just me, or is this junk really high, or am I just on some sort of Kool-Aid? Like, I would very much like to know from PC players, like, is there much point in sort of having requirements this high if the game just doesn't seem that good? What is the point of having high requirements? I thought the idea was, for games to run as smoothly as possible. But what if the game just inherently is built to be poorly made? It's like my discussion about bad PC ports, which was, a video that I made not too long ago. Like, what's the deal with, games not being optimized well enough, requiring such heavy, pieces of gear and equipment, and at the end of the day, just not being that good, not being that quality, and at the end of the day, just being a heavy disappointment because it just was not made well. You know what I mean? Like, surely I can't be the only one, but I do want to kind of hear other people's thoughts about this. So let me know in the comments below, especially if you're a PC player, like, what are your thoughts? Because this seems to be a bit of a trend going on, but maybe I might just be blowing it up, and maybe, Charlie's video, maybe, hit in the same way as, like, talking about how recently there have been larger amounts of bad PC ports. has there just been a larger amount of bad PC ports that are running terribly, and now they're requiring more, significantly higher recommended specs for equipment that you are going to have a lot of difficulty getting your hands on, especially when those things require $2,000 to $3,000 worth of equipment to actually put together and actually be able to use. It just seems like gaming is becoming less and less inclusive on the PC side, and I suppose I can kind of also see why that may then cause an uptick in sales for things like consoles, where you can just plug it together and just start playing whatever it may be, and everyone just has to kind of make games to the lowest common denominator for that particular platform. I don't know. Again, I'm not knowledgeable about these sorts of things, but sometimes I just kind of I look through the gaming news, then I close my eyes, and then I think, what was the most relevant thing that I saw? And this just happened to be one of those things that just caught my mind, and I thought to myself, yeah, Golem's got really, really high specs, or really, really high requirements for specs. Does it deserve it? Where do these, why would it need specs this high? And are there other games that have really high specs? What do they have in common? And generally it seems to be that they're just poorly made games that are badly optimized, and in the end require way more muscle under the hood to get running. But that's just sort of what I've seen, and what I've noticed and heard of from other YouTubers and things like that. So let me know, PC players, in the comments below, what do you guys reckon? And I'll see you guys next time.